You've connected to Cisco Unplugged.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cisco Unplugged. I'm Dan Klamert, your host. And this week on episode 59, we're going to be talking about the new Cisco Campus Gateway. So I would like to first welcome back to the show, Al Dumdei. How are you doing today, Al?
Hey, good, Dan. Looks like you're at a party. Is that
I, I'm in Chicago here today. Yeah, so there is a
okay?
there is a party going on here, a
All
watch
right,
party.
Travis and I, we're hard at work to make up for that, so don't worry.
It's a work watch party, so don't get too excited. But
Oh, okay.
and I'd like to also welcome our special guest today, Travis Schlafke. He's a product manager here with Cisco. Hey, Travis, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Good morning. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for being here. So before we get
So
started, oh,
Travis used to be part of the advanced services team many years ago. That's where we originally started
Yep.
working together.
Al and I go
Where
way back.
I
there
didn't
were a
know
number
that.
of
Really?
individuals that
Okay.
corrupted him, and then he saw the
Ah.
error in his ways, and he's now part of the product management team. But
Well, maybe if you stick around till the end, we can tell some give some dirt on Al here. So.
oh no, the other way around. This is getting dirt on Travis.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll see. We'll see. That's funny. All right. So before we get going here, just a couple reminders here. We do use Slido for questions. So if you do have questions today, you can see the QR code. You can use that to the easiest way to join the Slido. Submit your questions. We'll get to those if we can here on the show live. And then also there's a Slido link. If you're watching via YouTube, you can click that link below and join that with that passcode to submit your questions that way. And speaking of YouTube, we are live here and we do record this on YouTube, the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@getunplugged. So please go out there, like and subscribe and turn on the notifications, click the bell so you are notified when we do go live with great content like this. So I think that's it for the reminders. Let's get unplugged here. Travis, let's talk about this new exciting product here from Cisco.
Yeah, sure. So Campus Gateway is a new cloud-based product, cloud-native product. We actually just went GA last Tuesday, so super exciting. Lots
Congratulations.
of work to get over that line. So we're
Yes.
all very stoked to launch an entirely new product line, actually, from the Cisco Wireless BU.
Yeah, this has been in stealth mode for a while, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, it has.
Yes.
It has had some twists and turns to get here. But I
Yeah.
think what we have is a really complete, comprehensive, product and solution that customers are really going to love. And really, I mean, high level, if I were to kind of summarize this thing, for someone out there who's not heard of it yet, is if you're a large campus customer, you have a massive roaming domain and you're used to using a controller architecture, your centralized over the top wireless architecture, this solution's for you if you're looking to go to cloud. We heard from many customers at the very onset when I first started digging into this of how do we solve this problem for customers and mainly higher ed customers. That was kind of the focal point that we dived into from the BU side of, hey, we get all these large universities. I mean, these guys have 10, 15, 20,000 APs deployed across all their buildings, academics, dorms, athletics, all these different things. And they think about the number of clients that has too then, right? You have maybe 50,000 wireless clients at these Big Ten universities, these East Coast universities, and they need to move from one place to another. And the distributed architecture in cloud with Meraki, it works great. It works great up to a certain scale, right? And so they really needed this centralized, large roaming scale kind of solution. And they wanted to move to cloud, right? Because these guys are typically very, very lean IT shops in the sense that maybe there's only one or two guys. So then to try to pivot to cloud and do all the changes to scale up your infrastructure for distributed, just it's not something that is easily digestible for them. And most of the times what we were hearing is, hey, we're using Meraki in the dorm rooms, we're using it in the branch. We'd really love to bring this to our campus core, but we need a solution that works for us there.
Nice. Yeah, I think what was really key is what Al was saying earlier on was that although this is a new product, it has been tested. We've had some fairly lengthy EFTs or larger customers trying it out too. And I think we've even got some customers that are looking to deploy this then already based on their testing. So that's I don't know if you want to talk at all a little bit about some of that testing, not maybe too much in depth, but
No,
I guess
totally,
you know,
totally
it builds
can.
a little confidence that yeah, although this is new, there's been, like Alan mentioned, there's been a long runway here to get here, and
Yeah.
again, kudos to you, Travis, and the team for all the
Yeah.
work you guys have done to get this product to market.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, those are good points to touch on. From like kind of a beta testing standpoint, even from a development standpoint, it's new, but we're leveraging the CW9800 hardware
Yes.
platform to run Campus Gateway, right? So
Yeah, great point.
this has been out in the market for a bit, so it's already a field tested hardware platform, and that also gives us the scale we need. And we had a pretty lengthy beta. We started beta back in the October timeframe and brought on probably 25, 30 different customers into this,
Yeah.
varying sizes, varying different verticals. Obviously, like I said, our target market was universities, so we had a bunch of higher eds that had Meraki, are familiar with that, and kind of had that problem statement of how do I bring this to my core.
Yeah.
And then we had manufacturing, and we had cruise ships actually running this, which was
Wow.
it really interesting. I mean, that was cruise ships in the middle of the Caribbean running off of Starlink, deploying this for an entire
Wow.
large ship. We had healthcare providers running this. So I mean, we've kind of deployed this across a variety of different environments,
Nice.
to get a sense of, hey, how is this going to handle out in the field, and are there things that maybe one customer is going to do that another's not, so we can kind of sort all that out and make sure during that EFT phase that
Nice.
when we were truly GA ready.
I don't want to speak for Al here, but let us know if you need, us to help deploy any of those and any other cruise ships.
That's right. Yeah, it looks like he's already on a cruise ship. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, maybe I'm deploying one
Maybe
here
he's
today.
maybe testing it right now.
I can't tell you though. It's top secret.
Those are great points. And I mean, to me, the two big things that I see this really kind of solving is, one is if I want to scale, like you were talking about, Travis, I've got universities that I work with that 100,000, 200,000 clients, right? In their one large roaming domain, right? And so if you say, hey, I'm going to run the traditional locally switched access point, that means that the size of that MAC address table on the local switch has to be capable of supporting that entire campus on the access switch, right? And so it really bumps up the requirements on the access switch, or you have to break up your roaming domains, which isn't desirable either, right? And so I think, and then the other thing is, it takes care of that whole issue of, hey, I've got some layer 3 hops, I got some layer 2 hops, maybe I'm tunneling through this. It doesn't matter, right? As long as your AP can connect through some sort of a layer 3 connection, we can form the tunnel and life is good, right? So I'm really excited about being able to solve these problems now, right? With this gateway. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you nailed it, Al. And I think, like, another thing to say there is, that from the technical standpoint, those are good call outs. And even some of the times we saw, this is just sometimes a layer 8 problem, right? Your wireless guy maybe doesn't necessarily touch the switching, especially, if you pivot your focus maybe away from university, where that guy's maybe a little bit more a jack of all trades. You get into large enterprise, a lot of times those teams are very siloed and segmented, and your wireless guy doesn't have control over the switching architecture. And if they're layer 3 out to the edge, well, what do I do? And hey, now everything is in my wireless domain, and I own this, end to end, and I don't necessarily have to worry too much about the transport of it.
yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. Do we want to get in? Maybe this is a good time. We've kind of talked about the reasons why, but maybe I throw up some slides on our feature set at launch for those who haven't seen it, and kind of talk a little bit maybe about the architecture of this thing, because I did mention it's on the CW9800.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah, that'd
let's
be
do
great.
that.
There is. So this is a slide. I know Al has seen this. I'm sure Dan, you've seen this. We've
Yeah.
used this and circulated this pretty widely internally on a lot of our trainings to get the field ready. But for maybe folks again who haven't heard about this, we have a pretty robust set of features, right? So if I'm focused maybe on the performance and scale and infrastructure side, there's some good call outs here, right? Because we're talking about large enterprises and university campuses. And so we had some centralized solutions before, right? We had the MX concentrator. If you go way back, we had something called a VM concentrator. We've had the ability to do EOGRE tunneling and things, but none of that was really purpose built for Wi-Fi. And so, and also just in scale, it didn't hit these numbers that we targeted with Campus Gateway. So, we can do 5,000 APs, 50,000 clients per box. The recommended architecture here is an active, stateful redundancy. So slightly different than a WLC where that's HASSO, one's active, one's standby. And so we felt that was really important. That was a intentional design decision we made when we thought about this of, hey, if we could change some of these things, what would we change? And this was one of the very first we thought about was, hey, what if we could run these side by side, have both of them up, have everything load balance, sort of like when you think about the traditional N+1 deployments, but what if it was stateful, right? So now we're able to load balance all your APs. That means your clients get load balanced and you get more throughput because these are 100 gig capable boxes. So, on a cluster of 2, you get 200 gigs throughput. So really, really good scale numbers here. From the security side, table stakes, that's kind of the way I describe this of, it does everything you needed to do to deploy an enterprise wireless infrastructure. The Campus Gateway is the radius proxy. It supports all the typical macro micro segmentation from your AAA override, COA, and then adaptive policy with SGTs. So lots of good stuff there. And then from the services side, for the first time now on Meraki, we have an MDNS gateway. Before, with the APs and distributed, we had Bonjour forwarding and all that sort of stuff, but we brought that MDNS gateway and location services over to Campus Gateway to be enabled that use case. So, if you think about a deployment where you have a ton of Apple TVs or MDNS devices, and then you go to your picker on your Mac, you don't get flooded with 100 Apple TVs or whatever your use case is. You get the ones that are closest to you. So there's proximity awareness to this thing. And then WPN, that is a huge feature we see a lot in higher ed. So we wanted to make sure we brought that critical feature over to this product. So any thoughts, questions on that, Al?
No, I just a quick, in case people aren't aware of WPN or UDN, just as a terminology. So basically, that is the way that we can form private networks. And to Travis's point around higher ed, this is typically a solution that we have in dorm rooms where each user can have their own little private network, but it's a common SSID, so we don't have the issue of you open your
We lose Al. No.
your SSIDs, right?
There it is.
So that just want to kind of make sure everybody's aware of what that WPN solution was.
Yeah, it simplifies, kind of brings the home experience to the dorm or to the campus.
Yeah.
Yep. It's nice. We do have a question here that came in via Slido, and they're asking, I'm running a 5520 WLC on version 8.5. Is there a path for me to add the gateway to the mobility group?
Yeah, and Travis, let's address that holistically, because the next customer is probably running a 9800, right?
Yeah.
So
yep.
Let's talk about the whole sort of AirOS, iOS now to the gateway, right? So
yeah, I think that's the perfect pivot to kind of talk about this architecture and the differences, right? Because although it is the same hardware platform, there are some underlying architectural differences that, again, were intentional when we designed this. Because if you think about it, a WLC has all your components in it, right? Like it's the full solution. It's got your management, your data plane, your control plane. So it does everything. It runs RM, it manages config, it manages firmware. And if you move to the cloud paradigm with dashboard, that's not the case, right? Like dashboard does a lot of the management. That is your interaction into the world here of, hey, my config is living there, my software management is living there. I'm running, say, AutoRF or now AIRM. That happens up in the cloud. So when we went about designing all this, we wanted to keep a lot of those components in place. We didn't want to have to bring that down onto prem and run those things on prem when we have a really good solution up in dashboard to be able to handle that. And at the same time, on the access point does a lot of stuff too, right? Like when you're setting up access control policies, you do all your rate limiting, your QoS, any sort of packet filtering. That happens at the access point. Even though you're configuring it on your SSID and dashboard, the AP does a lot of that for you. So again, we didn't want to stuff that into Campus Gateway and make sure that and have that thing do that. So we really honestly slimmed down what happens on this box in terms of function. So all your stuff at your AP still happens there. It does all your client off from an 802.11 standpoint. It's not a split MAC architecture. So all of that stuff happens down at the AP. And really what we're doing at Campus Gateway here is your data plane termination. That's the biggest thing. That's the thing we needed. But also from a real-time control plane standpoint, we needed a way to have high scale and client information so that we could do the stateful failover bit of it, right? So we do have a key store, we have the client DB there, and those allow us to handle 1,000 roams per second on this box, right? So we are keeping that there. The AP is no longer managing a lot of the holistic client database. We've pulled that back centrally, which makes a lot of sense. And again, the AAA proxy, it does the ARP proxying and it does the MDNS gateway. So fundamentally different. So back to kind of that, hey, can I add this to a mobility group? The answer is no, because there kind of isn't that concept of a mobility group when you think about WLC versus Campus Gateway. They're kind of fundamentally different on that standpoint.
Hey, Travis, we do have a follow-up question along the architecture here. It's another one around with their current WLC, if they lose connectivity at their Flex Connect branches, the APs basically can act as authenticators. How does this work in the Campus Gateway world?
Yeah, so in the Campus Gateway world, if you have your SSID tunneled, it's going to do the Campus Gateway is going to be the AAA proxy.
Okay.
So we do have the ability to bridge an SSID in this, right? So if you have these in your dashboard network, again, it's a configuration standpoint from an SSID perspective. So it's not an all or nothing. It's not cap WAP where, hey, the AP's got to, do all, as you can kind of see from the illustration, these are my two control and data plane tunnels and all this is managed. My next tunnel still goes there. So you have that ability to kind of choose which way you want, right? There's not necessarily that direct correlation of flex because essentially the AP's kind of sort of pseudo in that mode, but you can bridge your SSID locally and it goes off and does its own thing. And if the AP is centralized, if you lose your campus gateways, both of them, right? You'd have to lose both. Then yeah, you're not going to be able to authenticate any new clients. But if you lose connectivity to dashboard, say the AP and the campus gateway can't reach out to the internet. And assuming your Radius server is somewhere within your campus and doesn't need that internet connectivity as well, hey, you're golden. Like it'll continue to function, right? You're going to lose your ability to do telemetry and configuration until your internet connection is restored. But it's not a internet's down, network's down sort of thing.
Good. That's actually a really good question. So I'm curious about this. So if you lose your connection to the gateway, does the SSID stay up and the existing clients stay connected? Then is that what you're saying?
No,
on that particular SSID.
Yeah, on that particular SSID, if it's tunneled and it loses its connection to the gateway, we'll shut down that SSID. We'll disable it.
Okay. All right. So that's
because there's nowhere to send the traffic. We don't want to be bridging them locally to the management or a native VLAN or anything. So we turn the SSID off. That is a network down situation.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And that's why we have redundancy built into that, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
So you don't lose that connection, right? But in the event you do, that's exactly the same way like a Flex Connect AP would work, right? Is if you had centrally switching and you lost your central, you lost your central connection, the SSID goes down,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Cool. Was there any other questions on the Slido? Were those kind of the two right now?
There is one more actually that
Oh.
just came in. It's is R32 required for the campus gateway?
Yeah, great question. So R32 is not required.
Okay.
It is that because that it just went into beta last week. It's actually R31 too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a sneaky release, as in
Sure.
you need to have a campus gateway to run it, right? Like that release is specific to campus gateway. If you're just running distributed mode APs and you don't have a campus gateway in your network, you're not going to see that release on dashboard. So that is the first supported release. You can move to the 32.1 as well. And that will be supported. So anything beyond that, right? So we kind of, one of the changes we made, and this is maybe a good thing because honestly we haven't talked a ton about this. One of the changes we made in our releases for MR releases is we used to do the 1 year yearly release, right? You do R31 and so on and so forth, and we kind of do the point releases for bug fixes. What we're doing now is 2 yearly releases. So within the R31, we have R31.1, and that came out, I guess, last fall and is now kind of GA'd at 31.6 or 7 or something. I forget where it's at. But then we'll do an R31.2 and do kind of that same rev. So we GA'd with R31.2.5. That if you have a campus gateway, that's what you'll see. So we're switching to that cadence to get more feature velocity in these. And we kind of just started with, well, let's make this 31.2 specific to MCG so we can kind of tightly control this and make sure we QA it and back to the beta and all that sort of stuff, making sure it's rock solid and stable out the gate without injecting a ton of other features into it. But going forward, expect those not to be like Meraki Classic or distributed, however you want to think about it, and then in MCG. We'll try to split share features across those releases so they'll kind of be more of a mix of stuff.
Okay, great. I love these questions. Keep them coming in here. I got one more here. How long does it's around redundancy and failover. How long does the failure detection take when the gateway becomes unreachable? In other words, how long until the AP shuts off that centrally switched SSID?
Yeah,
if we, again, if we lose everything, if we lose multiple gateways.
Let me just add, just cover in there how redundancy works with the two tunnels, right? So let's cover that first because that's part of it, right? You have to lose both tunnels before you lose it. So
yeah,
good point.
Exactly. Let me see if I got an illustration here. No, I don't have one handy. That's okay. We don't need to. I can talk to this. So honestly, it should be super fast, right? Because what happens here for our tunnel setup is we'll do a quick tunnel. For our control plane, every AP in your dashboard network sets up a quick tunnel to both sets of MCG. So in your cluster, it'll have that control plane to both of those, and then we'll only do one active data plane tunnel. So that's actually a VXLAN encapsulation. So when the primary fails, because there's some failure detection mechanisms on that quick tunnel, and then the other MCG also is talking to the within that cluster, right? They'll use the RP port on the 9800 to exchange information. Both kind of nodes will know what happens in a failure scenario, and I believe the other MCG should tell the AP, hey, your primary went down through that quick tunnel, bring up your data plane tunnel. So in the time that takes, it should be super fast. Like, I mean, when we were testing this from an end user, from a client perspective, my device is on there, we see failure, you lose a ping. That's about it. So really, you shouldn't see any sort of interruption. So kind of what you expect from HASSO, that's similar results. So like if you're on a voice call, if you're on a video call like us right now, maybe you lose a word of mine, but that's about it.
And then if you were to lose the redundant controller, or the redundant gateway, I would guess would pretty much go down right away, right? Once that kind of goes down, the SSID would go down on the AP.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Great questions.
Yeah. I think I'm good for now. Al, I don't know if you've got any other ones. I don't want to monopolize all
No,
the time, but
I
these
don't
are
know if we
great
got
questions.
through all of the stuff that Travis had yet, though. So
Yeah.
I know he had a few more slides in what he was presenting there. So
Yeah, we
Yeah,
still have
let
some
me
more time here.
let me show one more thing. I think I wouldn't be doing my job as a product manager if I didn't do some sort of marketing
yeah,
task or talking about the value benefit. So
Yeah, this is a good one.
And I kind of touched on this earlier, but this slide in particular really helps reinforce this point of, if you look way over here on my right, and I have to check to make sure that is right. I'm a little backwards sometimes, but yeah, the campus gateway, right? Like that was not a solution we always had. So we kind of had this hole in our portfolio. So thus, if you needed that centralized architecture, you were kind of forced into a management mode, you were forced into on-prem. And now with the launch of this, we have the flexibility to say, hey, Mr. Customer, what do you need? What do you want? Do you want cloud? Great, cool. What way do you want to deploy your cloud architecture? Do you want to go on-prem? Awesome, we can do that too. So with the launch of this, there is not a kind of forcing you one direction or another. And we're the only ones, I believe, in the market who can kind of really truly say this. A lot of competitors, are moving more towards a cloud only sort of solution and moving away from on-prem. So
Yeah.
I think as a Cisco wireless BU, if you want to stay on-prem, you need to use 9800 with Cat Center as your management mode. Awesome, great, use it. If you want to come to cloud and use the Meraki dashboard and deploy a campus gateway, cool, we love that too. I mean, there is flexibility for you to deploy this the way you want, whether it's on-prem or cloud.
awesome.
Nice.
Hey, let me go back. And there was something you mentioned when you were talking about feature velocity. We kind of touched on this because to your point of being in higher ed, the MDNS solution. So traditionally, with the on-campus solution, right? We had the ability to filter. We had the ability to location-specific services where we said, hey, if you learn on this AP, you only broadcast on the neighboring APs. So there was some RF neighborship information and that kind of stuff that was part of that. Or we could say, hey, only broadcast it on the part of this AP group effectively, right? So do we have those same kind of controls now with the campus gateway? Is that what you're saying with the new the gateway on the gateway, the MDNS gateway on the gateway?
Yeah. So if you've used Meraki, simple is our mantra, right? Make complex things simple and elegant. So
Yeah.
on the MDNS and kind of throughout various things, and I think there's always room for improvement of us automating, which we've definitely learned through beta of can we simplify further. But specifically to the MDNS gateway, the location service is on by default. It's using all that same stuff. There's nothing for you to configure. When you set this up on your SSID, because you'll configure your SSID to be in tunnel mode, you'll pick your campus gateway. There's a drop down for, actually, it's a toggle. Turn on MDNS gateway, select your services. That's all the more you need to think about it. And we'll compute all that stuff of, hey, nearest AP neighbor, what RF group and all that sort of stuff, and it's just done for you. There's no additional thought or configuration that you need to do. It's literally 2 steps, which is awesome.
Cool.
Like,
All right, so location
we've done
services,
some of
they-
that throughout the product.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
We have another question via Slido here, and I think it's a clarification. They're asking if they heard us right, that you can run like a Flex Connect AP with the ability to select central versus local switching on a per SSID basis.
Yeah, maybe let me clean that up a little bit there.
Sure.
The AP is still in Meraki mode. It's not Flex Connect. You would buy like, say, your CW 9178, your Wi-Fi 7 AP. That is a single SKU. You hook it up to your dashboard, you claim it, it's going to run in Meraki mode, and you don't have to configure, local or Flex Connect or anything. It's just an AP. An AP is an AP. And then from the SSID perspective, let's say in your dashboard network, you have 3 SSIDs. You have a corporate, an IoT, and a guest. You want both your corporate and your IoT to be tunneled to the campus gateway, and say maybe the guest goes out through like direct internet access.
Sure.
That doesn't need to be tunnel. That one can be set up as bridged as you normally would. And then the other two could be set up as tunnel through the campus gateway.
Nice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for clarifying that. That's awesome.
What about in conversion? If I'm converting, right? So let's say I'm doing on-prem today. I want to move to cloud monitored, cloud managed, right? What do I need to do to the access layer? Do I need to change these to trunk ports? Do I need to leave them if I'm using just all locally switched today? I want to move to locally switched in the future. Do I need to change anything on the access switching at that point, or can I just start converting APs and moving them to the gateway?
You're saying if I have kind of a Meraki deployment today as distributed, or you're saying
that's good. Actually, let's do both. So let's say you have a Catalyst on-prem Catalyst deployment today, right? In locally switched, so the traditional CapWAP, configuration for the AP, and I want to convert. Or let's say alternative. That's a good point. I've got the traditional Meraki today that is all locally switched rather than central. I said local, I meant centrally switched.
Yeah.
So the Meraki's all locally switched today, but now I want that central architecture. So what do I need to do in terms of conversion for both of those, right?
Yeah, from an access point like switch port configuration, say you're on-prem, you got one VLAN, it's an access port. Same thing. You don't have to do anything to that access port, right? As long as the AP can get DHCP and can connect to the internet, to talk to cloud, you're good, because what it's going to do is set up its tunnel to either a specific AP manager interface that you set up, or to the management interface of the campus gateway. So you have the ability to configure it two different ways. We maybe are running short on time for the nuance of that, so maybe read the deployment guide. That'll be my plug for it. But all it's got to do is have reachability to that interface, right, where it needs to establish its tunnel. So you're good. You don't need to touch a switch port configuration, which is the point, right? Deploy without redesign. I don't want to touch my switch port configurations. And if you're coming from traditional Meraki and you have a bunch of VLANs and it's set up like a trunk as opposed to an access port, that's probably fine too. If you want to go in and clean that up and make that an access port just for housekeeping, which might not be a bad idea. But you don't need to, right? Because that also then gives you the flexibility to say, hey, cool, I still have some of these VLANs in the case of maybe a guest or whatever SSID that you want to bridge locally. It's still out at the AP as a trunk, but as long as that AP management interface can reach the campus gateway AP manager, you're set, and it'll just tunnel over that VLAN.
All right. Well, that sounds like the mechanics, at least, of the conversion would be fairly simple either way. So
yeah, it does. It sounds great.
Yeah. All right.
So, is there anything else you want to ask Al, or anything else you want to cover, Travis?
No, I think we covered a wide range of stuff. This was good.
Yeah. Thank you to
there's lots more I want to ask, but
I know. You're always welcome back, Travis.
That's right.
Appreciate you coming on here, and I appreciate all the questions. That was great. Always makes it more fun and interactive. So thank you very much, Travis. Great overview of the new Cisco Campus Gateway. I'm super excited for this, and this is excellent. This is a great overview. We'll have more coming at Cisco Live here in a couple of weeks, but just want to thank you, Travis, for your time today and for going through this with us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Again, thanks for having me, guys. This is fun.
Yeah. Thanks. So, as we close out here, again, a reminder, if you do want to reach out to us, if you do have any questions that come up after this, you can always reach out to your Cisco account team. They know how to get a hold of us. You can always reach out to us directly. You can email us, getunplugged@cisco.com. You can hit us at a DM on Twitter at unplugged80211 or on Threads, Unplugged Connectivity. So as just a plug for our new upcoming episode schedule, we did have a little bit of a shift in the schedule. You may have noticed that or not. We were going to have our part 2 of the best practices for cloud managed wireless. That is still coming. That's been bumped back due to a personal issue that we had to reshuffle the time. So again, thank you, Travis, for your flexibility, and this worked out from a timing perspective. Great. So you can look at that schedule. You can see that schedule out on our YouTube channel. It's the first link right below the title bar, you click on the link, and it takes you to our schedule for upcoming episodes, so you can plan accordingly. But always, if you do go out to youtube.com/@getunplugged, if you subscribe, click the bell for notifications, you will be notified when we do go live with new content. And then one last plug, we will be out at Cisco Live. If you see us, come find us. I've got some merch. I've got some stickers, some swag. So, come say hi, and I can hook you up there. We will be recording some content and having some live content from live, which is always super fun and exciting. So thanks again, Al. Thanks, Travis. Appreciate your time. And until next time, stay connected and unplugged.